Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for this evening's presentation here at Carleton University for our Live at 5 with the Student Experience Office, or SEO for short. My name is Jaleel Alab, and I'm a recruitment officer here at Carleton University, Canada's capital university, and we are absolutely thrilled to have all of you join us today. We absolutely appreciate you taking the time and effort to come and learn a little bit more about our university, and in particular, learning a little bit more about our Student Experience Office. And for those of you who might be learning about Carleton for the first time, we are a university located here in Ottawa, Canada, and located specifically on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. And this land acknowledgement is something we absolutely cherish and are always striving to improve on in terms of how we want to adapt that to our campus and our collective culture. Talking more about how we want to reach out to our students and some other ways of improving the campus. For those of you who've been connecting with us throughout the year, you've probably used a variety of different platforms to get in touch with our recruitment team, professors, and current students as well. One of those methods is our Live at 5 presentations, which we're doing actually right now. These are incredible events that happen every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. and we focus on specific topics about the university to dive into them in more detail. In the past, we've covered topics like awards and financial aid for things like scholarships and bursaries. We've looked at things like residence and other things like the Carleton University Paul Menton Center for students with visible and non-visible disabilities. Other students have been tuning into our podcasts, which we do every single month, run by my colleague Stanley Philippe. He's had some great ways of connecting with people within the Carleton community for our students to learn more about what the Carleton community and culture is really all about. He's had some incredible talks with some of our own members of our recruitment team and even the president of Carleton, Dr. Benoit Anton Bacon. And even some of you have been having one-on-one conversations with us through our Future Raven coffee breaks. These have been incredible events. I've had several of them, perhaps with many of you who are tuning into this. It's kind of these one-on-one conversations where you can join us and really just have a normal way to talk about what's on your mind, whether it's in regard to the admissions process or learning about the campus life or just kind of understanding what it's like to be here in the nation's capital. We'd absolutely love to have all these conversations with you. Now, these topics have ranged from a bunch of different things, but in particular for today, what we'd like to tell you about in today's presentation is about the Student Experience Office. So many students, when they're interested in university, they love to know about, the programs that they can do, other ways of getting involved in terms of careers, reaching out for clubs and societies. And really, the SEO is a great way for having transitional supports, especially for our first-year students. They have a ton of variety of orientation programs and different events that take place throughout the duration of the year. Throughout my time as a student, I had so many run-ins with my friends who were doing these events, and I absolutely loved it. I myself graduated in 2019 with my degree in biomedical and electrical engineering, and I'm currently in my final year of doing a second degree in Bachelor of Arts honors in religion. But I am joined today by a certain someone who's definitely going to have so much more knowledge about the SEO, and I'm going to be joined by Grace. So Grace is a Carleton alumni who graduated from the Bachelor of Commerce program, specifically in marketing, and also has a Master of Arts in Higher Education Administration and Leadership from Royal Roads University. So I will now thank Grace for joining us for today's presentation, and I will allow her to grace us with her presence to talk a little bit more about the SEO. Thank you, Grace.
Awesome. Thank you, Jalil. Welcome, everyone. As Jalil mentioned, I'm going to share a bit about the Student Experience Office today. So the Student Experience Office, what we do is we provide co-curricular programs and activities that support the academic experience. So, if you're wondering, what happens outside of the classroom, how can I get involved? What are the resources that I need to know about? We strive to provide you with that information through our programs and really complement your academic experience. Thinking about, starting at a new school like Carleton, a really important piece is your transition, and we provide various programs to support your transition, many of which are orientation programs and also through mentorship programs. So I'll start by chatting a bit about the orientation programs that we provide to new students. Most of these are optional, but there are a couple mandatory programs as well. So the first program that new students can participate in is called CU 1001. This is a virtual online course that students, go through at their own pace, and it's available during the summer. So actually, before courses begin, is when you would be completing this course. You do have to register, but it is free. Registration will open in mid-June. And then the course is available for you to complete between July and August, and it takes about 2 to 3 hours to go through it. But the purpose of the course is to provide new students with the information and services that they need to know to be successful and to start at Carleton informed and confident. So information on things like awards and financial aid, really what you can expect, from a student life perspective, information on athletics, parking services, and then academic services as well. So really, we're trying to kind of put all of the information we feel that students need to know in one place for you to access. Within this course, we also provide what we call our Ravens Talks. So kind of similar to this session, it's live sessions where you can connect with various staff members and departments on campus if you want to know a little bit more about the services that they offer. And those take place throughout July and August as well. The next orientation program that we provide to students to support the transition into Carleton University is fall orientation. And you may know this more as Frosh Week. So fall orientation will take place this year from Sunday, September 5th until Friday, September 10th. And so that's basically the week kind of before and during when courses actually start in the fall term. This is another optional program for new students, and there is a registration fee this year of $69.99, and registration for this actually opens tomorrow. So for students who have accepted an offer to Carleton, they can begin registering for fall orientation tomorrow. So as I mentioned, it's basically a week-long series of various activities and events designed to connect new students to the Carleton community through interacting with upper year volunteers and student leaders, as well as other fellow Ravens. And so we achieve this through various events and activities. We're still working on our schedule for this year. Our programming will be virtual as it was last year as well. But for example, some examples of last year's events include an illusionist, slam poetry, epic bingo events, and lots more. We also build in sort of smaller events for you to connect with your orientation team. So all students will be placed on an orientation team, and we'll have some smaller events for you to, build connections kind of with, in a more intimate setting, I guess, as well. And then we also provide, events for students to pick and choose what they want to attend. So, we'll have evenings where there's multiple events going on at one time, and you can choose what you want to go to based on your interest as well. And the nice thing about being virtual is you can really hop in and out of different events to get a taste of everything that we offer. We also provide out of our office an academic orientation day. This year is on Tuesday, September 7th. This is a mandatory day for all new students attending Carleton. And this academic orientation day is specific to the faculty or program of study that students are in, and it's geared to connect students with the various faculty or program information that they need to then begin classes the next day on September 8th. And students will get information about that to their inbox as well, but really it's connecting students with the faculty members or other students in their program as well to start building that connection and providing information that students need before they start classes in their specific program of study. And then I also mentioned that we provide new student mentorship programs as well. So out of our office, we provide what we call first year connections. So it's a peer mentorship program where new students are paired with upper year students for the first 6 weeks or so of the fall term. And it's a great chance for students to connect with peers, to ask questions that they may have, and really, build a one-to-one relationship where you can connect on resources and just navigate various challenges or kind of common transitional pieces that students generally feel. And that's a program that students can register for as well. And registration will open late in the summer in end of July, early August. Now that's a lot about kind of first year student support, but we also offer programs for students kind of ongoing throughout the course of your degree. One of the programs that we offer is called the Campus Activity Board. And what the Campus Activity Board is it provides various events for students throughout the year. And this is open to all students in any program at any time. So I mentioned during orientation week, we offer Epic Bingo. We also offer Epic Bingo all year long where students can win various prizes. We've given out TVs before, popcorn machines, Raven swag, We also offer, paint nights, yoga events, and whatnot. And the great part about the Campus Activity Board is that it's student-led. So students can get involved as volunteers, also as event directors, and so on to get involved. Lastly, I'll touch on some of the leadership opportunities that we also provide for students out of the Student Experience Office. So a lot of the programs that I've mentioned are student-centered and student-led. So we have upper year students who are contributing to those, whether in a volunteer role or helping develop and build out programs as well. Another example of leadership opportunities is a SOAR leadership conference that we host usually in January. And so it's a one-day conference for students to participate in, geared towards providing skills or sessions on leadership areas, and students can join as participants, but can also contribute as presenters. So that's a great way to also connect with other peers on campus in a leadership capacity as well. So that's kind of a brief summary about what the Student Experience Office provides. And Jalil, I'll turn it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Grace. It's absolutely wonderful. So I hope everyone who's watching us right now, some of that amazing content that Grace covered probably, maybe generated some questions or inquiries that you may have on your mind. And if you do have anything, please feel free to write it in our live Q&A, and we would love to answer it. So right now, Grace, I'm just going to open it up right now. We did have some students who asked us some questions right now. Some are on the theme saying that is Frosh Week going to be fully online, or can there be in-person stuff too? So essentially asking, will there be any virtual events this fall if they're not able to attend maybe Frosh Week in person? If you could kindly comment on that, please.
Absolutely. So we are planning to offer Fall Orientation Week fully virtual this year. We will be, following the public health guidelines in the Ottawa area, as well as, the policies of Carleton. But right now we're planning for fully virtual activities.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The next question that we have here, I think touching on something that you brought up a little bit earlier about the mentorship program, and they are wondering, does the mentorship program cost money?
Great question. No, this is a free program. So of the programs that I mentioned, the only program that does cost money is the Fall Orientation, which is, as I mentioned, it's $69.99. But with that, you get a kit full of Raven swag, a hoodie, mask, toque, a few t-shirts, and lots more as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So some other questions that are coming in right now. Some people are generally wondering, how can they be involved with the SEO? And kind of related to that, can they become a mentor after first year? Is that a paid job?
Great question. So the mentorship role is a paid position, and absolutely students can become a mentor after their first year at Carleton. Applications usually open in the winter term for that. So right now we just hired for next year's mentors in the fall. In terms of getting involved, most of our programs, we just accept volunteer applications at any point throughout the year, depending on the program itself. But usually we're accepting volunteer applications and we promote those through our social media. And the handle is SL Ravens, Student Life Ravens. Awesome,
great. Just another question coming in again. When exactly is the deadline to register for Fall Orientation for Frosh?
There is no deadline. So we accept registrations up until the end of Fall Orientation Week, which is September 10th this year.
Perfect. Awesome. And again, everyone, feel free to ask us some more questions here in the live Q&A. We have another one coming up right now asking, does it cost money to take part in the Epic Bingo?
No, those events are all free. Yeah, all free. Anyone's welcome, and we offer them virtual, and it's actually an event that we used to offer in person as well. And hopefully one day we can do so again, but they're pretty fun virtually.
Amazing. Epic Bingo sure does sound pretty epic. Another question that we have here, Grace, is asking, can first year students do a presentation at that conference that you talked about? I believe that's the SOAR Leadership Conference they may be referring to.
Yes, absolutely. We accept applications for presenters from students or really any member of the Carleton community. The application process for that usually opens in the fall term, and it's promoted campus-wide. So you'd see it, but absolutely we welcome presentations from students in any year.
Amazing, amazing, incredible. Maybe some more things that I was wondering if you could honestly also touch on, please. Number one, for those students who may be interested in becoming a mentor or being involved in the SEO in general, do you have any tips for them of how they can like balance their dedication to that work along with some of their academic pursuits as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. Certainly I think balancing, taking on academics as well as, sometimes work commitments can be challenging, but we've heard from a lot of our student leaders that immersing themselves in these opportunities often actually enhances kind of their time management and scheduling because they just have more responsibilities to manage. But we work around our students' schedules. So for students who are kind of taking on some more of the leadership roles, we make sure that any office hours they're committing to or whatnot work within their academic schedules, and we provide support to make sure that that's the priority as well.
Amazing, amazing. We have some more questions coming down the line. Again, everyone feel free to ask them here. Someone is asking, can you please give some examples of topics that have been presented during the SOAR conference?
Sure. I'm thinking back to this year's sessions. We had one presentation on leadership and diversity. So, just balancing kind of various, cultures and communication strategies and whatnot. There was a presentation on rest and the importance of cultivating rest when you're in a leadership role, kind of going back to that question about balancing various commitments. We've also had alumni come back and present sort of about their leadership journey, and how Carleton contributed to that. So an example this year is we had an alumni who now works at Google, and he shared a bit about his journey and how, some of his student leadership positions contributed to the role he now works in at Google.
That sounds absolutely amazing. Maybe also in your case right now, do you mind explaining, Grace, how the skills and kind of the things that you learned and picked up in your time at the SEO kind of benefited you going off to graduate school and now into your career? Aside from just focusing on the stuff that you learned in your classes and courses, what did some of, the knowledge that you gained in taking part in this opportunity, how did that help you?
Yeah, so these co-curricular experiences, I think, provide students with a lot of the opportunity to kind of hone in certain skills or build experiences. A lot of, volunteer responsibilities. It's much more than, volunteering. You may be planning events, you're, assisting with hosting events. We provide experiential learning programs as well, where students have the opportunity to, do project-based work that supports various, volunteer organizations. And so, it varies on the role, but I think there's a lot to be developed in terms of communication, in a professional setting, whether it be written or oral. Time management, as we touched on, sometimes navigating conflict or working in teams, because a lot of our programs, they are team-based. You're working with a group of peers, as well as all of our programs are supported by professional staff like myself. So, also just what it means to kind of work in a bit more of a professional setting. I didn't touch on it earlier, but we also provide a resource to students called a co-curricular record. And this is a transcript that students can capture and document any co-curricular or volunteer experience. And it's an official university documentation. So once students, become an accepted, they accept their offer and they're a student at Carleton, they have access to this co-curricular record, or a CCR for short. And they can add positions throughout the year that are co-curricular or extracurricular in nature. And then when it comes time to apply to a job, grad school, perhaps an employer, they can print off this documentation. It's got official Carleton branding, and it speaks not only to having the experience, but it also includes the competencies or experiences gained as well, which is a really valuable tool for students as they kind of move into what's next in their career.
Absolutely, that's so true. Going on to this next question, this one's going to be kind of a fun one, considering the fact that you and I both are Carleton alumni and are both working for the university as well. Someone is asking, as an alum, what advice would you give to someone coming into Carleton next year?
So this is a question that I ask the students that I work with a lot. And, we often hear the response, I think I get more than anything, is, get involved. But I think the reason for that is because the students who do get involved, they either say, they're so glad they got involved, they're able to really build connections, friendships, and gain experiences. But also we hear from students, I wish I'd gotten involved sooner. And so I think, being virtual, though, that can kind of sometimes be perceived as a barrier in terms of how do I get involved? How do I build those connections? So I think the piece that I would recommend is, I try and kind of go out there, get involved in, fall orientation, sign up for these things where you get a chance to interact with other students and staff on campus to kind of see where those opportunities are and what you're interested in.
Incredible, incredible. So another student is asking a question, asking, can I get a student job at the office? I believe they mean the SEO in particular.
Yeah, and I kind of alluded to that a little bit. So we do hire students in paid positions as well as volunteer positions, and it kind of varies based on the program. In all of our programs, for the most part, we have students that work in support roles and are doing, some of the supporting kind of elements of those jobs. So the mentorship program is a great example. We do hire students to act as mentors in the First Year Connections program. But fall orientation is also another example. And we have a number of volunteers, a couple hundred student volunteers who will support the various events and act as student leaders throughout the week. But we also have 3 students who are paid throughout the winter term right now and the summer term, and their job is to design and plan and build all the pieces of fall orientation. So that's an example, but we do hire students in the various programs that we provide.
Awesome. Like maybe if you could kindly comment, what was it like maybe some of your favorite experiences from fall orientation?
Ooh, I always really enjoy, watching kind of the week evolve when students, first get on campus and there's a little bit of apprehension, kind of just navigating and finding their way around. And then, by the second or third day, you can just see the confidence build as students begin, making connections. And that's very similar in the virtual world, not quite knowing, or figuring out how to, go to an event or attend an event and, apprehension around using the chat box. And then you just see those connections and confidence form as the students become more comfortable with their peers in these settings.
Absolutely. And since we're both working for the university and Carleton alumni, our total knowledge about the university has really grown since the time you and I were students. Maybe Grace, since now that you're able to work with the office, if you could go back in time to when you were a student, what's maybe one thing you wish you had known about the SEO in particular?
Ooh, great question. I think perhaps I wasn't fully aware of, just the number of opportunities that there were. I think, got involved in the program that I got involved with. But I think really exposing myself or just even networking with the other staff and students in the office itself would have been really helpful because there is a wide range of programs. And I think the students often, interact with orientation, initially, but there's lots more that we offer, mentorship, the campus activity board, experiential learning programs, the leadership conference, and so on.
Absolutely. Yeah, great answer. Someone else is asking another question here. If you could kindly provide some more clarification on whether SEO gets involved in any of the student clubs or related activities.
Yeah, so at Carleton, the student clubs work primarily with our student association. However, the student experience office, we have a really strong relationship with the student association to work collaboratively on various events and whatnot. So a lot of the events that we offer through the campus activity board, for example, they're in partnership with some of the clubs. And a great example is last week we had a coffee art paint night. So we had a session where students could learn how to paint with coffee, and that was a collaborative event with the Neuroscience Society.
Absolutely, and kind of a fun thing that a student has written here, saying, this is really informative, thank you. I didn't know about all these things to do. And I know for everyone who's maybe considering university right now and is kind of in this stage right now, we're in March going into April, wondering about what the future will hold, having all this information to know that in first year, you actually do have support, people who would love to help you and, help with that transition into post-secondary is something really, really important to learn about, perhaps even just as important about the program or residence or scholarships and bursaries as well. So thank you, Grace. And thank you. And with that, right now, it seems we've answered all of our questions at the moment. For everyone else who's in our live audience, we will give some time, some few more minutes right now at the end for anyone who would like to continue asking questions. We will answer that directly on the chat for the live Q&A. Thank you all so much for joining us here. Thank you in particular to Grace for sharing this incredible wealth of knowledge with us. We absolutely appreciate it. Some other ways that students can stay connected with us, or again, tuning into our other Live at 5s that are coming up, booking one-on-one meetings with us for the Future Raven coffee breaks, and of course, tuning into these incredible podcasts held by our colleague Stanley Philippe for the Talking Raven podcast. Please tune in. It will be absolutely amazing. And other than that, if you'd like to continue learning more information about the university, feel free to look at all of our different programs on admissions.carleton.ca. You can book upcoming events and get some more specific information about your interests at Carleton through 360.carleton.ca. And feel free to follow us on all of our social media. The handle is at Carleton Future. With that, everyone, thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. We absolutely appreciate it. We definitely wish you all the best in your studies and hope to see you at Carleton in the near future. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.